What's going on YouTube? It's Giga here, and today is August, which means it is the last month of Series 12, and I wanted to release some rental teams. I know it's been a while since I've done that, but with Series 13 coming on, I thought it would be fun just to do some less serious but more fun teams featuring a lot of my favorite Pokemon. So first off, we have Kyurem Black Calyrex. So Kyurem Black is probably the worst restricted of all time, which is unfortunate because it has a lot of moves, especially in Dynamax, that lets it hit really hard. Right, it has Outrage, Freeze Shock, and Fusion Bolt, all of which are just incredibly damaging moves. So we do have Kyurem sort of as our main hitter, as our main max candidate. We do have that being supported by Magmar. So Magmar is a Pokemon that not a lot of people know about and what it can do, but Magmar gets Mach Punch. It's one of the few Pokemon that does, and that Mach Punch can trigger that weakness policy. On top of that, you do have access to Burning Jealousy, right? If you see a Zacian being able to go for damage that way, I thought was really huge. And then as a last move, we do have Clear Smog. Clear Smog is just the idea that there's so many Pokemon running around that do get a lot of boosts. Being able to get rid of them is huge. Also, Kyurem gets like a ton of Intimidates onto it from something like an Incineroar. Being able to get rid of those, I thought was really nice. So that is being paired with Calyrex. Calyrex is just choice specs, trying to hit as hard as it can, doing what Calyrex does, just as an option of if we can't really bring, basically Calyrex is there to kind of clean things up. Next up, we do have Thundurus. Thundurus is really there if we can't bring Kyurem Black. We, for the most part, cannot because it's terrible, so having a secondary option is nice. It is a standard Assault Vest set. I did opt for Grass Knot just because I do like having better answers to things like Gastrodon. Also because of the fact that, right, we are not always going to be using Calyrex as much, so having access to that Max Darkness is a little bit of a trade-off. So I thought that having Grass Knot there was fine. Next up is Snarl, pretty standard there, right? Screens, we know what it does. It has Thunder Wave, Spirit Break, just pretty standard. And then finally is Whimsicott. So Whimsicott really here is to provide more support for Kyurem, right? Zacian obviously being a huge threat, so having access to Tailwind is going to be really important to outspeed. We also do have Helping Hand for some extra damage boost, and then Taunt as well for extra support, trying to block things like a potential Trick Room, which can be a huge problem. So this is the first team. Next up, we are using one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and that is Heracross. So this is a really Trick Room focused team using Calyrex Dialga, right? So Calyrex, we all know what it does. It sets up Trick Room, it hits really hard with Glacial Lance. We do have PP Max on the Glacial Lance this time. I know a lot of people were upset about that on the Boufflant team, so fixing it there. Also, we do have the weakness policy. I'll talk a little bit about the proc later. But next up is Dialga. So Dialga, just a really solid option in Trick Room. I liked it a little bit more than Palkia just because I thought it offered some better coverage. And also having that Steel Spike is really huge. Also, worth noting is we do not have Trick Room on the Dialga. Given that we have two very good Trick Room setters, I thought it made sense to kind of go away from that. So next up, like I said, is the star of the show. It's Heracross. This is a Guts Flame Orb Heracross, just right, trying to hit as hard as possible. I had wanted Life Orb originally, but the Life Orb ended up falling on Dialga. So the idea, right, is we can set up and then just go for massive damage, taking advantage of that Guts boost. We do have Mega Horn for stab, as well as close combat, as well as Throat Chop, just trying to hit some Calyrexes, particularly Shadow, that can give us some trouble. So having a good answer to that is really important. Also, the Flame Orb means we cannot be put to sleep by an opposing Amoonguss, so I thought that was really huge. Next up is Dusclops. So Dusclops is our other Trick Room setter of the team, right? It just is able to really offer some good support. It does have Nightshade, which we can use in an emergency situation to proc the weakness policy on Calyrex. I thought having Will-O-Wisp was more important than Shadow Sneak, just because having access to lots of status, I think, is a really important option. And so I said that, hey, I'm willing to take the trade of not having access to that easy proc policy, right? We can still proc it with Nightshade. And in some cases, I think Nightshade is better, right? Because we know exactly how much damage it's going to do. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it still gets us where we need to be. Next up is Umbreon. So we are all about the status this time around. We are really weak to Calyrex Shadow, right? Especially trying to set up Trick Room. And so our main answer to that is going to come in the form of this Umbreon. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what it does. It's just a Pokemon I've really wanted to use for a long time. And then finally is Amoonguss. Amoonguss is just such a great option with Trick Room. It's really hard not to bring it. We've talked about what Amoonguss does a lot. We all know what it does. It has Redirection, it has Sleep, it has Healing with Pollen Puff, so just all the really good stuff. That Pollen Puff is going to be really huge with Heracross, right? Like we are taking damage every turn from the Flame Orb, and so being able to recover some of that is big. So next up, we are skipping over that one. This is a Yveltal team. The Groudon and the Yveltal are the same from my team that I used from Skydrop. So this is a Citrus Berry Groudon going for those sword stances, being able to hit really hard, also having very good recovery in the form of that Citrus Berry. Rock Tomb also offering huge speed controls. Awesome. So next up is Yveltal. Yveltal, once again, Assault Vest, pretty standard. We do have Snarl, Sucker Punch, Foul Play, as well as Oblivion Wing. So really a supportive Yveltal that can offer a lot for the team. So the next one is, this is kind of why I built the team. It is around Sirfetch'd. So Sirfetch'd I think is really cool because of the fact that it has Scrappy. Scrappy Feint. So for people that don't know, Scrappy, what it does is it lets normal and fighting moves hit ghost types. So we now have a way to basically break protect on things like a Lunala or things like a Calyrex Shadow, right? Like those are really common things against like Yveltal to try and protect in front of it. And we're just saying, hey, you can't do that. So having access to breaking through those protects and those wide guards is big, especially when we have Groudon with spread as well as Yveltal with spread. We also do have Helping Hand, right? Trying to help hit as hard as possible. We do also have Quick Guard, right? There's so many Incineroars and Rillabooms with Fake Out going around. Being able to kind of stop those is huge. Next up, we have Cinderace. Cinderace, it hits really hard. Charizard normally is the common option for running with Sun, but I thought it'd be fun to mix up and use Cinderace. It's just a little bit of a different Pokemon. I like having more physical attackers, right? I think it's important to have a good balance, and so I think Cinderace really helped. It also helps deal with some of the common weaknesses that Charizard and Yveltal share, and by getting rid of that, we still can hit really hard in Sun, but we also have a lot more support, I think, outside of that. Next up, Venusaur. So similar to what I used from Skydrop, this is a very support-oriented Venusaur, right? It has Helping Hand, which can really sort of help out when not maxing. It's really great next to something like a Cinderace, right? Being able to go for the support sleep powders while Cinderace can go for that big damage. It also has Helping Hand to really help cinch out some of those KOs. And then finally, Grimmsnarl. I thought Grimmsnarl was a really solid option in terms of giving some extra support. Right, we are very focused on hitting hard, right? We have 2 Helping Hands, we have Feint to break through Protect, and so having some screens to help with longevity, I thought was really important. And then finally, this is the team that I personally am most excited about. It is Cosmoem. Cosmoem is a Pokemon that I have wanted to use since Series 8. Yeah, since we were allowed to use any form of restricted, this has been the Pokemon that I have wanted to use the most. The objective of this team is just to be as annoying as possible. So for those of you that don't know Cosmoem, it has more bulk than Dusclops, right? And when you slap in a Violet on it, it is really just not going anywhere. And so the idea is to utilize Cosmic Power just to heal as much HP as possible. This really is a Parasong team. So the objective, right, is to outbulk your opponent, to put on a ton of literal pressure and force basically a predominant endgame. I don't expect this team to win a lot, but I think it's really fun. So yeah, we have Cosmoem using the only 3 moves it knows. Cosmic Power really is going to be your go-to. Teleport is nice, but we can talk a little bit about that later. So next up is Eternatus. So once again, another really bulky friend. We're just trying to absorb as many hits as possible. Using that pressure is really big, right? We can stall through things like a Behemoth Blade from Zacian and just kind of Ice Beams from Kyogre, Precipice Blades, like any sort of thing. Really, we're just trying to block. Next up, we have Lapras. So Lapras is really huge as our main Parasong setter. It also does have the Light Clay if we choose to go for the max resonance, right? Trying to make our things even extra bulkier. And so that is going to, like I said, this team is just trying to bulk and survive probably till Timer. I think that really, unfortunately, is the way that this team works. It's really the only way I could see Cosmoem working. Next up is Comfey. So once again, really trying to help with that survivability. We have Floral Healing to help access or to help offer extra recovery. We do have Giga Drain just to break some potential Focus Ashes on our opponents. Also having sort of damage is really nice. I could have gone with Draining Kiss. I just forgot to change it. It is what it is. Next up, Rillaboom. Once again, Comfey trying to heal as much as possible. Being able to set up that grassy terrain and give recovery is great. It also means that the timer goes a little bit longer, and that's going to be really huge, right? We are trying to play towards a timer endgame, and so having anything that can help extend that timer, whether it's the grassy terrain animation, the shinies, any sort of thing, can really help with that. And then finally, we do have Gothitelle. Gothitelle is really annoying, and I love it for that. Gothitelle does have Skill Swap, which is really great when you have Shadow Tag. So being able to put that Shadow Tag, say, onto Cosmoem and just start Cosmic Powering while you bring out, say, a Lapras and start setting up, I think is huge. So Gothitelle really offering a lot. It can put our opponents in a lot of really tricky positions, and I think in that regard it makes it worth it. We do have Hypnosis to put stuff to sleep that lets Cosmoem set up more. So these are the teams. A pretty short video, like I said. Also, if people want to hear my thoughts on the Scarlet and Violet trailer, let me know. But I'm excited to use these on ladder. I'm just excited to start having some Series 13 content. And yeah, with that, until next time, I hope all of you are wonderful, and I'll see you then.